Okay, so in this video, we are going to just get some more practice with the trinomial factoring and then solving by that. And then we're also going to fill out this factoring chart that you should have. Remember, this has got that perfect squares chart on the back that I said that I would get to you. So this is that sheet of paper. So make sure that you have that if you don't already. Okay. So, when you are solving, again, this shouldn't be any surprise, but you want to make sure that the equation equals 0 before beginning. Now we have two examples up here. So, and then make sure that you keep your x squared term positive. And make sure that the trinomial is in the correct order. So that's descending order by exponent. So up here, I'm going to subtract the 10y. So minus 10y. So that should be y squared. So this is the first one. Y squared minus 10y, because we have to go in the right order, plus 9 equals 0. Now the second one, so I'm going to subtract the 12 from both sides. So 3x squared minus 5x minus 12 equals 0. Okay, so then step 2 is you are going to factor the trinomial. So like we did in the last two videos. Okay, so that number 1. So this one doesn't have a number in front. So I just need to find what multiplies to this but adds up to negative 10. So because it's a plus c, so remember, why don't I write that down again for us? So you've got ax squared plus or minus bx plus c. So if you've got a plus c, you are either going to have two pluses or two minuses, and it's your sign of b. So this one is a plus c, but because b is minus, they're both going to be minus. So I'm not even going to bother putting 1 times 9 because those are both positive. So I want to put the negative 1 times the negative 9 and the negative 3 times the negative 3. And I got to pick which one works with this up here and adds up to our negative 10, which is going to be the negative 1 and the negative 9. So x minus 1 and x minus 9 equal 0. Now over here, I need to multiply by 12, 3 by 12. So I've got x squared minus 5x minus 36 equals 0. So then our other option is if it's ax squared plus or minus bx minus c. So if it's minus c, then you're going to have one that's plus and one that's minus. And your bigger number is your sign of B. So to get negative 36, so 1 times 36. So the bigger one has to be the sign of B. So the sign of B is negative 5. So that means it should be a negative 36. So 2 times 18. So 18 is bigger, so the negative should go there. 3 times 12. 12 is bigger, so it should be negative 12. 4 times 9. 9 is bigger, so it should go there. And there's the one that adds up to the negative 5. So for number 2, we have to use the box. So remember, your original first term goes here, so your 3x squared. Your original last term goes here, so your negative 12. And then it doesn't matter which one goes where. So I'll put the 4x here and the negative 9x here. Again, it doesn't matter. So when I factor this, going across, these have a 3x in common. Going across down here, they have a 4 in common. Going down here, they've got an x in common. And down here, they've got a negative 3 in common. So there's our factors. So 3x plus 4 and x minus 3 equal 0. So then step 3, you're going to take each factor. So that's what's in your parentheses are your factors. Set it equal to 0 and solve each equation. So for number 1, I've got x minus 1 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0. So I'm going to add 1, x equals 1, and add 9, so x equals 9. Now for number 2, got 3x plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. So subtract the 4, 3x equals negative 4, divide by 3. I would leave it as a fraction like that unless IXL tells you otherwise. Whoops. Add 3. Okay, so just a hint for you, because these are both squared, so like y squared and x squared, whatever your variable happens to be. Oops, I ended up switching. Oh, yeah, I ended up switching this y to x. Whoops, that's okay. You should have your largest exponent, so the degree of your polynomial, should tell you how many answers that you have. So because this is squared, I should have 2 answers. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a hint for you. Okay, so you should be able to do these ones pretty easy on your own. Make sure that this one's set equal to 0 before you start. But if we're having trouble on any, it's going to be some of these box questions. So I want to do another one of those first. So let's actually do this bottom one. So first thing that I need to do is add the 7 to both sides. So that 10x squared minus 19x plus 7 equals 0. And then I need to multiply these together. So x squared minus 19x plus 70 equals 0. So now this is a plus c, but this is minus. So that means that they're both going to be minus. So I got to find the one that adds up to negative 19. So for 70, I've got negative 1 times negative 70, which that doesn't add up to negative 19, so that's not it. So negative 2 times negative 35, which that's not it. Does it go into 3? No. What about 4? No. So 5 goes into it, so negative 5 times negative 14. So there we go. Those two add up to a negative 19. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my box. My original first term, so the 10x squared, and my original last term, which is the positive 7, because you take it after you moved it. Then it doesn't matter which one goes where. So the negative 14x and the negative 5x. So going across, these have a 2x in common. Going across down here, these don't have anything in common, so that's going to be a 1. Going down, these have a 5x in common, and these have a 7 in common. So 2x, now these should both be minus, so minus 1, and 5x minus 7 equals 0. So then I just take both of those and set them equal to 0 and solve. So add 1, divide by 2, so x equals 1/2. Add 7, divide by 5, so x equals 7/5. So I want you to do the 1 through 3 examples on your own. Then, again, you should have this out, so I want to go over this. So now you're going to have to start mixing them together and know which one to use when. So this just goes over that. So distributive, or also your GCF factoring. So you're going to use this one if your exponents are bigger than 2. Because if you remember your difference of squares, you need to have an even exponent. For your trinomials, those should be an x squared. So if you have something that's bigger than an x squared or y squared, whatever, then you're going to use your distributive factoring first. If you've got multiple variables or exponents, so if you've got x's and y's, or if you've got like an x squared and an x cubed, then you'll use your GCF factoring. But if nothing else works, so like if these ones wouldn't work otherwise, then this is a last resort method. So if you've tried everything else, then you would come to your GCF factoring. So remember, when you have your answer, you should have your GCF out front and then your leftovers in your parentheses. So your difference of squares. There we go. Your difference of squares. So you need to have a binomial, which remember is your two terms. There has to be a subtraction sign between the two, hence why it's called difference of squares. All of your numbers need to be perfect squares. Which, remember, those are on the back of this paper. And all of your exponents must be even numbers, because that means you would just do half of that. And then if these three criteria aren't met, you're going to start with your GCF factoring. So if it doesn't fit all three of these things, then go back up here. So your answers for this are always going to be plus and minus. Okay, so your trinomial factoring, so when x squared doesn't have a number in front of it, so this is when you have no box. So you need to have a trinomial, which, like your binomial, this one is 3 terms. Your largest exponent is 2, so x squared, y squared, whatever. And your x squared has no number in front of it. Which means that there's actually like an invisible one. So then you have your box method, which again you have a trinomial, which is the 3 terms. Your largest exponent is 2. But this time x squared has a number in front of it. So instead of always flipping through your notes, this is a nice little cheat on when you should use each one. And if you want, I would put this information maybe down here at the bottom, if I were you, just so that, again, it's all in one spot. Okay, but now I would go back to your introduction notes. I know that it's been a minute, but any of them that have that say factoring. So factoring, I would go ahead and do those. So that's 2 and 6. Okay. So let me know if you've got any questions. Have a good day.